Whoa, you and that damn camera of yours, huh? Always messing with my camera, guys. All right, welcome back, guys. The Country Called Us. Those of you that have been here before know this is Trish, and I'm Jeff. Again, we're a family preparing to move from the city to the country. Hey, prepared. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about owner financing. That's what we plan on doing. Obviously, if you've been here before, you know that. If you haven't been here before, now you know. But there's a lot of red tape to get through with owner financing. People don't realize. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to answer any questions anybody has, or if they have any questions about it. And Trish has a little update for you guys with, some more recipes. Obviously, was something we've been working on a lot, and I'll let her give you the updates on all that. Once she hands me my coffee, she's over here typing emojis and all kinds of crazy things. You know what I mean? Just like, kids,
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. So.
Hey, Jackson.
What's up, Jackson? Hey, Uncle Chris.
Hey, Uncle Chris.
So what I want to update you guys on first is I actually did order all the stuff that I needed for the preps that I'm going to be making, the shelf-stable food and stuff like that. I did order all that. So it should be coming.
Did you order it?
I did.
It did come. What are you talking about? It should be coming.
No, the seasonings and stuff.
Yeah, I thought that.
No, that stuff never came yet.
I thought that was. Oh, that's that one. Yeah.
From Sam's Club.
We got the Amazon order. Yeah, sorry.
We got the Amazon
I get so
order.
confused. We order so much stuff, guys. Trying to get all this stuff together to move and do all that. At least 4 packages a week come to this damn place. You know what I mean?
Right. Hold on a minute. Let me check here. So between Saturday and Sunday, I'll have the rest of the stuff that I need. All my seasonings and stuff like that. Reading it here. It says between Saturday and Sunday, it'll arrive.
Can I see my charger? Hold on, Jackson. I'll go get it, you butthead.
So there's going to be a couple videos on the seasonings. I'm going to make the seasonings. I'm going to make a couple of the shelf-stable meals. I'm going to be making also new creamers because, nobody wanted to believe me in the video that wouldn't last very long. So I'm going to be
didn't believe you. I believed you.
I'm going to be making I'm going to be making new creamers. I'm going to be making chocolate peanut butter, and I'm going to do like a maple cake batter. So we'll.
What else, Con? What you going to say?
A chocolate peanut butter.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure you say that.
I did say chocolate.
All right, guys, 1 second. Let me pause. This is a little, to me, it's homestead related. Some of you might not be. Power is always a big thing. I ordered my son. That's why he's asking, can he see his charger? Came in this little baggie here. Just show you that. Something we got from Amazon today. If anybody's listed, me and Uncle Dave made deer snacks. Oh man! In case anybody's interested, I'll put a link. Let me know, and I'll put a link down if you're interested. All right, you get a 10-foot cord, 2 10-foot cords, and
2 bricks.
2 bricks, and they're C to C. The cord is C to C. You get 2 of them. As you can see here, I got 2 bricks. Cost me $10.99 on Amazon. It's for my son, but it's something else that we're stocking up on for
charging.
Our charging supplies for being off grid, running on generators and all that, solar setups and things like that. If I can get everybody give us a thumbs up on the live here, I really appreciate that. Helps out a lot, guys. But yeah, that's where Jackson.
No, you can't have them both, Jack. Only the one.
You get one for now, and we need another one. I'll have a spare, buddy. That way, if you need to get cords or chargers, listen, I go to Walmart. I thought it was the cheapest place to get them, paying $20 for a CDC fast. These are fast chargers, you know what I mean? And it just found them on Amazon for $11, and I got two of them. So, again, but yeah, back to what you're making.
Yeah. So, the creamers, I'm probably going to do it tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow. I have to work tonight, unfortunately, again. But, so I'll probably making the creamers tomorrow. And like I said, the seasoning stuff's coming, this weekend. So probably sometime next week, we'll have those videos. I did a little bit more research on some, Homestead meals. And what have you. They're snacks. They're not meals. They're like cookies and stuff like that. Some of them you have to like bake, but you can bake them in a pan instead of putting them in the oven. I got some no-bake peanut butter cookies, no-bake chocolate balls, coffee cake, fudge.
It's cocoa coffee cake, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's cocoa coffee cake. If most people, fudge, a lot of fudge really isn't
hard.
Hard to make. You don't have to put it, this one here, sometimes you have to, when you're making fudge, you have to cook, cook your sugar and what have you, so that it breaks down. These recipes here, you don't. You literally mix all the ingredients with water, and then you shape it and you let it sit.
Again, these are all shelf stable, so you can put them in a mason jar, airtight container, and put them on the shelf for whenever you need them.
Whenever you want to make them.
It's not something you can just have. You can just have it prepared, ready to go, just sitting there waiting for you.
Graham cracker balls. Well, they're graham cracker peanut butter. But the name on it was just graham cracker balls. Oatmeal raisin bars. Chocolate pancake roll-ups. Now you're gonna need a pan for that, because you gotta make the pancake, but you make it thin like a I don't want to
crepe.
Like a crepe.
Yeah, like a crepe.
And then you add whatever you want to put in it. You can put in it apples, canned apples, canned cherry, to just roll them up. And one that I thought was really cool, it's called apple pie foil packets. So basically what you do is you dried apples, sugar, cinnamon, and you can put oats in it. You don't have to. Those are optional. But you put them in a piece of aluminum foil. You wrap them up, and then you sit them near your hot coals, like in a fire, for 10 minutes, and it'll cook it like an apple pie.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
I can make a couple, I can do some videos on a couple of these and, show you that, a lot of them you don't need to cook them, and what have you. But, that's a couple, snacks and what have you, for when you're, just want to snack out on the homestead and all that. But yeah, some of those videos will be coming, like I said, I'll do the cream. I'll probably do the creamer tomorrow after I wake up. And then like the shelf stable meal one and the seasoning ones won't be until next week.
Yeah, because we're waiting on Sam's Club
to get our stuff here.
Being goofy. But yeah, so there's that, guys. We've got a lot going on, as everybody knows. I've been researching, and I, amongst my research, we brought this up. Obviously, we know a lot of the rules and a lot of the guidelines to go along with owner finance land, and we talked about it a few times but never got like super in depth on the differences in states and the differences in the covenants with the company. Each company has their own set of rules. They're basically all the same when it comes to the companies that you're basically quote unquote financing through. All their covenants are pretty much the same. So for those of you who don't know what a covenant is, it's something that like it's a rule that they state that as long as you're still paying on it, and they still own it, they want to protect their investment more or less, because there's been issues because they don't do a credit check. Everybody's you want another puppy? My Pomeranian. No, Pomeranian.
No small little gippy dogs.
No Pomeranians on Chris. Sorry about that.
No. Sorry, Uncle Chris, but no.
I love dogs, but no Pomeranians.
No.
But yeah, so they have specific rules to protect their investment because, like I said, because there's no credit check, everybody's approved. As long as you can come up with a down payment and the document fee for the contract signing with the lawyers and everything, the title company, because it goes to a title company to make sure that the title was. That's when you do your due diligence. You should know, check the county, register to make sure the site that you're planning on buying is registered. The person that says the person that is selling it is registered in their name, because there's times people have gotten ripped off where someone has sold property and it wasn't their property to sell. You know what I mean? And that causes a big mess. But these covenants are in place to protect themselves and to protect their investment, because there's been people that, they would put the money down, first one's payment, and like I said, some of these places you can find decently cheap depending on how much acreage you're looking for. If you're looking for 1 to 2 acres, I mean, you can get something for $4 or $5 grand and only be paying $150 a month. You know what I mean? Which is not bad at all. But I mean, that's, depending on what part of the country you're in too. You know what I mean? If you go in the desert, obviously it's a lot cheaper. Anywhere where there's trees, like we talked about last live, anywhere there's trees is going to be a little more expensive, because the lumber itself is considered equity, more or less. You know what I mean? It's considered money. You know what I mean? And they have to protect that. So some of the covenants, and some of them are kind of crazy, to be honest with you.
I mean, with going along with the trees and what have you.
Yeah.
We found a lot that you're only allowed to cut down to open up your space 20%
of all the trees
on that land. So I looked it up. I did some research on it. So if you have 10 acres and you want to, clear out trees for, your house, your shed to house, your driveway,
other sheds, like you might have utility sheds, you might have power sheds, you might have, you know what I mean?
You are literally in that 10 acres only allowed to clear 20%, which is only 2 acres.
Now, mind you, there's other covenants go along with that, which make it even worse.
You can't cut down trees that are bigger than, 6 to 9 inches?
6 inches diameter, 6 inches round, and they are more than 2 feet tall, unless they're dead, or you're cutting them for living conditions, which would be like a driveway, or a pad for your house or whatnot, or I mean what have you, maybe your shed or whatever. But in that essence, okay, your driveway has to be another one of the covenants to go along with that, which make that even harder. Your driveway has to be 350 yards off of any border, off the main road, off a county road, off of a shared road, off of any of the borders of the land. Has to be 350 feet, not yards, 350 feet off of any border, whether it be the road, main road, the shared road or any border of your land.
Right there, we estimated that to be anywhere between 1/4 of an acre to 1/2 an acre.
Right. So you need to cut 350 feet back to even before you can start building your pad. So you got to cut 350 feet back.
And it depends on how wide you want your driveway.
And I mean, honestly, how wide do you think a driveway is? I 15 foot at least, right?
Right.
Because you're going to be bringing in, sheds, and you're going to have
right. You have to have enough room to bring all your
water
equipment
and you know what I mean. You're going to have, at some point in time, you may have big tractors coming in and out of there. So you want anywhere 12 to 15 foot, so you have space on either side. And then you want to, in case there's water runoff, you know what I mean, on that, over there, you want to be able to create, ditches on the side so the water's not piling up on your road, what have you. So the 15 foot is give or take, but you figure 350 foot. Now, mind you, we're talking raw land. So some of these places don't have a driveway. They don't have anything. It's just strictly raw land. That's why it becomes a little cheaper. But at 20%, when you already have to cut 1/4 to 1/2 an acre just for a driveway, not including your area for where your house is going to go, or your shed house, or whatever it is that you want, that creates a problem when you're already 1/4 of the way through, if not more, of the 20% that you're allowed to cut before you even get to the pad you're going to build. So then if you have utility sheds, or if you have a tractor or side-by-side, and you want to build lean-tos to put it under so it's not in the weather, or you need a power shed because we're off grid, so where are you putting your power at? You know what I mean? You got your inverter and charge controllers and batteries. They can't be out in the weather, so you got to have something small. You know what I mean? You don't want trees that are within 5 or 10 feet of all these things. Now, you're not clearing out flattening the whole land, but you want to make space to where you're not having to worry about in a rainstorm or snowstorm or windstorm, winter snow. If you get snow where you're at, winds, like Arizona, we're talking about, they'll get monsoons and high winds because it's flat and it's open. Tree branches dropping on your property. Now, in their mind, that okay, that's fine. That's your problem to worry about, not mine. I got to protect they're trying to protect their investment, which, as an adult, I understand that, but it's still just as irritating because it kind of makes you feel like, what about my investment? You know what I mean? I had to pay for this property that may get damaged, ice storm, like I said, ice storm, windstorm, rain, snow. You get a tree branch that breaks and bust the roof, or that's money I got to put out that they're not really worried about. And then you get, other covenants, depending on the state, obviously county, they have their own covenants, but you have other ones where, obviously you're not allowed to cut no wood. Like I said, 6-inch diameter trees, unless it's for living. You can't sell wood from the property to anybody off the property. Some of them are obvious. A big one is, you can't run any kind of commercial operation on the property. So say, for instance, we're talking about having a garden, and we were looking into doing a farm stand eventually, technically that's considered commercial. Anytime you sell anything on that property, it becomes commercial. You know what I mean? So if we would to grow things and have a farm stand, at the edge of our property, down by the road where the cars are coming through, or there's a highway close by and it's on the edge of our property, not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to take anything that you make on that property and sell it, even though, like the fruit, the vegetables, fruits, potatoes, whatever you have in a garden, whatever. Technically, if it came from that land, you're not allowed to commercialize it and sell it to anybody else
until the land is paid off.
And then, like I said, some of them are common sense. The easement road, like some of them have easement roads coming in, and they're just dirt roads. They're not, they're maintained. Some of them are maintained by the the group, because there's some of these owner farmhouse places you'll find will be like Hollow Ridge, and they'll have like 10 tracks where what they did is they bought 100-acre plot and they broke it down into 10-acre plots, and then they'll name it like this, whatever it is, and and it becomes like a housing area or like an area like that. I'm not really too fond of those, but you get a lot of those. But they'll say, like, again, you can't cut trees for firewood, you can't sell firewood off if you bring in any heavy equipment. And like, again, these roads they're just dirt roads. They're not, what I mean, they're not paved, they're not even shelled down, they're just dirt roads. If the vehicles that come in for your big equipment, if they tear up the road, obviously this is common sense. It's your job to fix it and maintain that road. Anything that was damaged by any vehicles that you had coming in. And a lot of times, I mean, that's some of these things is what we're trying to get away from. And I mean, granted, I understand we're financing, quote unquote, and they're protecting their investment, but some of these things are just out there. Like, you can't have any type of temporary you can't have a temporary dwelling on the property at all. I mean, an RV doesn't count. Well, some of them don't allow RVs at all, depending on where it's at. Some of them don't allow RVs at all. It has to be a stick and wood structure. You know what I mean? But you can't, like, when you first get there, you can't have a tent. You can't, have, just a temporary, even if it's it's a wooden structure or a cement structure or brick. If it's temporary, then no, you can't do that. And then some places, like we talked about, the difference between, states with trees and states where it's desert land. When you go into the, into the desert area, again, people, took advantage of it and destroyed some of these places because they, like, again, you don't have, they don't run credit checks. They don't, anybody can get it. Anybody can move there as long as you have the money. So people go in there and destroy the place. And what's the matter if they take, they make us leave or whatever? It doesn't, it's not a credit hit. Yeah, you lose the money that you put into it, but you get all walks of life. We'll just put it like that. People are going to destroy it and make it. Some of these places that we've seen online. I mean, there was these sheds and there was garbage. I mean, the whole way back the driveway, garbage piled up the whole way back, garbage strung throughout, what I mean, the property. Just some crazy, junk piles with old batteries and old car parts. And
a lot of them had structures already on it, but also you got to watch for that too, because inside these structures are garbage that you have to clean out. Animals, animals could have made their homes in there, and you got to watch for that. And yes, sometimes you could find land that somebody had lived on and made a mess of, and like I said, had some structures on it, and the structures are still good, and that's a plus for you. But don't forget, there's all kinds of garbage around you. So
it's going to draw animals,
right? In these structures, it's going to draw a lot of animals, a lot of reptiles.
It's going to draw mice and rats. Draw snakes and
Right. I mean, it's a lot of So yeah, that may be a plus, but it's also a negative because you have all these rodents and all this stuff that you have to watch for when you're cleaning this stuff out. A lot of times, they could have already had the land cleared. So you buy it. So, okay, part of the land's already cleared. So you can still clear 20% of that land. But again, when you're cleaning that land, you've got to watch, because if there's garbage when you first come in, 9 times out of 10, throughout the rest of that land, there's going to be a lot of garbage.
And my problem with that is, is these people, and I get they're just investors, don't get me wrong, but they leave it like that. That there's no discount on this land. You know what I mean? If you because I do due diligence. Okay, so I go in and find out what the land was. I'll go back 5 to 10 years and find out how much land was sold for in the last 5 to 10 years and how many people own that land. And when I find out that they're charging me more than the person who made this junk, and they're not going in and cleaning it up, that's your responsibility to go in there and clean it up. Now, mind you, you live off the beaten path. You may live a half hour, an hour from the dump, or somewhere where you could take this garbage or to get garbage collection or whatever. So now it's your job to clean all this up, but there's no discount on the land. You're still paying the full price, if not more than the person who destroyed the land. Because of, land prices go up by every year they go up couple percent. But I look on there and I find out that they bought it for $35,000 and you're charging me $40,000, and I still got to clean up this junk and then pay to have it hauled out or haul it out.
And not only that, but you also got to think too, and I'm not knocking anybody, so please, don't take it this way, but you also got to know, what kind of people were on this land. Did these people, did they buy this land, or were they just on this land and they made a mess of it? Did you got to watch too for did they do drugs?
Oh, that's another big one I was going to get into, right?
Is there needles around that you have to watch for because of
Oh yeah,
all the garbage?
That's pretty cool, buddy.
All the garbage and what have you. So that's another thing you got to think of when you see land. Yes, you have structures on this land, part of this land is already cleared, but you have all this garbage. So that's, you got to think.
And that's the thing.
What kind of people were on this land.
And if you look at these, pay attention to these structures, from the view they give you, some of them are crazy. Well, I remember that dome one that was made out of the one person, I don't know who it was, obviously, because they didn't end up finish paying it. They built a dome structure out of chicken wire and cement.
Yep.
Just one little room, maybe
the size of this room that we're in now.
So what I'd say, 10 by 12 by
12 by 10,
12 by 12, 12 by 10. Yeah. And just took chicken wire and, fenced it over it and then cemented and then threw up cement, and then, it was crazy. But then again, they want to charge you more because there's structures on there. They're talking their structure up. No, that's weird. I don't, you know what I mean? You should get a discount to be cleaning that. You should be, and I understand they want to make their money just like everybody else. It's a business. Don't get me wrong. And I get that, but it's a difficult situation for someone like us because you got to understand some of these cheap sites, some of these cheap lands, you get people that are homeless. You get people that are, like she said, into other acts of life. I've seen many, the one guy I watch, it's Oklahoma Homesteading or something his name is. He actually met some people in town. They were living in a broke down camper on a 2-acre piece of land that they bought. They had 8 dogs, but they had no income, no money, no food for these animals. Nothing. They just, they took everything they had and, bought this little piece of property, and no water and no electricity. They got all these animals that, there's nowhere to throw, get rid of the trash or waste or, nothing. There's a broke down camper on the site. And we're talking like 1970s camper, which you could have some nice 1970 campers, don't get me wrong. But it's pretty bad. And then once they, now they go and terrorize this site, and then they're going to charge you more to go on there and clean it up. And I think that's crazy. And then you have all these covenants where you can't touch this, you can't touch that. And I get that. But it's because of the people that go on there and terrorize all these places and don't do the right thing that you should be doing. Or you can't afford it. Or you don't, today, how many videos did we watch today of people that, well, there's one we watch every night because we think it's funny, no offense. But I've seen umpteen videos since I started watching this of people who did not do their due diligence, did not know what they were getting into. People moved into the middle of the desert, literally an hour from what they called a small city. 40,000 people was a small city to them. I mean, which it's not a big city, but it's bigger than some of these towns out in the middle of the desert. 500, 600 people. She was upset about that because they came from San Antonio and there was over 1 million people there, and the closest city to them was an hour away, and they only had 40,000 people. And when you get there and you're out in the middle of the desert and you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have to know how much it's going to cost to get electric. How far is the electrical lines? You have to figure in if you need solar. Can you dig a well? If you're in the middle of the desert, wells may not be an option, because you could dig 300 feet and not get a well. And if you do get a well, it's going to dry up super quick. And they did none of this. They just went and bought a piece of land and thought they were going to bring the electricity in. It was 3 miles, wasn't it? To the main transformer. The closest transformer to their property was 3 miles away, and it was going to cost them over $200,000 to bring power in. Had no opportunity for water, and they were going crazy. These are reasons why these covenants exist. Because
this is why you have to do your due diligence and you have to do your research before you buy your land to find out what's the closest. If you're going to bring electric in, what's the closest? Where's the closest power lines? If you're going to,
right.
You have to have. On a lot of these, you have to have a septic system. How much is it going to cost for a septic system? How much is it going to cost to run water? How much is it going to cost for that? You have to do your research, because if you just say, hey, I'm buying land, and you go and you buy a piece of land, and then all of a sudden you're like miles and miles from the nearest town, or miles and miles from the nearest electrical lines, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get it put where you're at.
And all these sites, they give you the GPS coordinates and everything. You can look it up on Google Maps. You can figure all this out if you take the time to do it. And I mean, that's just something you need to do. You have to do your due diligence. You have to find out the covenants for the company if you're owner financing. Again, and then you need to find out the building codes and the health codes and fire codes and all that for the county, borough, township, city, whatever you're closest to, whatever controls that, whatever their ordinances are. Like, for instance, Arizona, a lot of these desert states, cheap. You can get, what the lady saying, she had 2.5 acres for like $2,500.
Yep.
But the thing is, even if you buy it outright, the county, they have, like, it'll say no restrictions, no restrictions, no restrictions. I think we just froze up. No, we didn't. Okay. It'll say no restrictions on, their website. But what you don't realize is the county has restrictions. Okay.
You have to get permits for certain things. You have to get permits to build certain things.
Like, for Arizona, for instance, you cannot live in a camper for more than 14 days at a time and 30 days a year. Isn't that right?
That's one of them.
And then you can get, but if you get a permit,
you can live up to 60 days.
From 60 to 90 days, and then you can keep renewing that permit.
But you can only get it 3 times.
As long as you show that you're trying to make like a regular structure, whether it be a tiny home or what have you. Number 2, you have to have septic. You have to have whatever you have there has to be tied into septic. Now that's $2,000 or $3,000 right there just to get dug and put in. Okay, and Arizona is one of the states where it's weird. Those of you that have RVs or know anything about this, you have your gray water, which is your sink water for dishes,
your shower
water, and then your sink, basically whatever sink in the house, and then your shower water. And then you have your black water, which is your toilet water. You know what I mean? Obviously. Gray water in Arizona is considered black water. They consider that black water. There's no such thing as gray water in Arizona. It can't, because with gray water, you can just, a lot of states, you can pump it out just in the ground somewhere, run a pipe down, through the field and let it run, just like rainwater. It's no big deal. The biggest problem you have is the soap, but you can buy biodegradable soap with no chemicals and all that stuff in it, where it doesn't hurt anything, but not in Arizona. So you have to tie into a septic system. Okay, you have to show proof. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope y'all day went good. Our day's going good, bud. Thanks for stopping by, Alex. You have to have a septic system. You have to have proof of how you're going to store, how you're going to get water, because like I said, a lot of times in these hot states, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, even in the up in Colorado, they have desert in Colorado. Again, we talked about that. Something we learned. Desert in the Rocky Mountains,
right?
But you have to, now there's ways around that somewhat. Like we talked about, you can get a porta potty, but that's only temporary until you have to show progress that you're working on getting all this other stuff
for your septic system.
And your structure built, and but you have to get a permit for that too. And I mean, there's workarounds, things, but not always. It's kind of tough. And then you have to worry about what the county, what their covenants are, and then you have to worry about what the company you're working with covenants are. Like we talked about, buying. We talked about we wanted like 10 to 20 acres, which would be 20 acres would be what I want. 10 would be okay. Obviously, that's a decent sized piece of land, but 20 acres would be perfect. Hell, I'd like to get 40 acres. As much property as I can get is that's me personally. But that's going to take the bigger the property, the longer it's going to take you to pay it off. So we talked about what we're in the talks of talking about.
Hey Cheyenne, thanks for stopping, babe.
Hey Cheyenne, call me later when you get home. I need to talk to you about Thanksgiving, baby. But thanks for stopping by again. But you need to thought about buying a smaller piece of land, like 2 or 3 acres, and that'll take us maybe a year to pay off. And then a lot of these places have land around it that's connected to it or nearby. We could pay that off and live there. And if we wanted to buy land, after we pay this off after a year or so, could say it's $4,000 or $5,000. We could pay that off pretty quickly, even less than a year. But point being, if it took you a year, your payments would be like $100, $200. We could live there and do whatever we wanted to the property outside of the county codes, and then own or finance something bigger and live here and do what we need to do and work on that piece by piece until it's paid off. But then this little area here, we don't have to worry about. You know what I mean? And we can take our time with this bigger property, and we'll have somewhere to live that we can do whatever we need to do outside of what the county code is. You know what I mean? And again, in Arizona, there's a permit you can get to where it opts out of inspections and things like that. But then you have to do, there's certain pretenses to that, and you got to pay for that. And
again, I mean, we're telling you this stuff. If you're thinking about doing a homestead,
because we've seen it.
Do your research.
Because we've seen it. People just jump right into it. Like the one girl we told you about that lives in California, in the desert in California, Northern California.
They just bought a piece of land and
just dropped all their stuff on it. Had no idea what, when, where, and how. I mean, they were bringing, lamps and fans and, just TVs and microwaves and, just everything. Had no source of power, no solar, no power banks, no nothing, no sheds. Had a bunch of, grabbed a bunch of tarps and some duct tape. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but yeah, we won't get into that. Duct tape and tarps in the middle of.
And this again is
why we're talking rain and snow and.
This is why you
duct tape and tarps, bro. Duct tape and tarps.
You must.
I mean, we're talking. They had curio cabinets and dressers and end tables and coffee tables and china cabinets, and it's her and her mom, and it's a mess. Like they made a mess. Like it was out in the rain, and they said they weren't. They're fine with losing whatever this, that, or the other. And because they had nowhere to stay, or they didn't even think about where they were going to stay. And now I guess there's, they had those other, they had looked at other pieces of land, gave their 30 days for their house that they were in because they were having issues with the landlord not fixing some mold issues, that this, that, or the other. Gave their 30 days because they thought they were going to buy some land. And it's her and her mother and her son decided they didn't like none of them. Well, your 30 days were up.
So they had to pick something.
So they had to pick something and go. Had no form of structure to sleep in or live in. They were living in a car for the first week on the land. All their essentials were out in the rain with what they couldn't tarp. They bought straw bales, stacked them 3 high and around, and put a tarp over and made a chicken coop out of that.
Do your research.
And then eventually, went and bought 2 small sheds. I think they're 10 by 18s.
What's up, Lisa?
Hey, Lisa, thanks for stopping by. I think they're 10 by 18 sheds, one for the mother, one for the daughter, the grandmother, and the son. And the grandmother lived here, and the mother are in that one. And they were 14. She had to put $1,400 down
on each
shed. That's $2,800. You could buy a used RV for that. I mean, not used, but like a cheap old beat up RV for that. That's going to do better than what a shed would. And then had to go in and insulate it, which we talked about. It looked like a 2-year-old drywall displaced. It was diagonal pieces of drywall put over here and over here.
Gaps in them, they're like this big.
I mean,
listen.
She's trying. She's trying. I'm not trying to knock her. I'm not trying to knock her. I'm just using her as an example that you have to pay attention and you have to do your research and you have to think about, what you're doing. I mean, you don't just, like my dad always said, you test the water before you jump in feet first. You know what I mean? You stick your toe in that water a little bit and figure out how cold or hot it is, until you just dive right on in. You know what I mean? You gotta figure things out because like we talked about, it'll be me, Trish, Jackson's mom, and Jackson. He's 9 years old. Well, he'll be 9 in a couple of days, huh, Jackson? And 15 days, my youngest boy will be 9 years old. Man, I can't believe it. And he's all excited. But if it's the 3 adults, we could probably do something like that and be stupid and figure something out. I mean, listen, we've made things work that were worse than that.
Oh yeah.
All 3 of us adults, me, her, and Jackson's mom, we've all made things work that, at times struggled and needed to figure things out. But with him, we can't do that. We have to be ready. I'm not going to take my son somewhere and get there and I have a plan to do this. And they say, oh, hey, by the way, you're not allowed to do that. What do you mean I'm not allowed to do that? It's my land. These are my rules. You have to follow them. Well, I have no plan for nothing else. Then what? Then I just gave up everything I had, moved my son across the country or a different state, and have to figure out what I'm doing now. Because I didn't plan for all that. You know what I mean?
Research.
You got to be smart about it. Research. And listen, in the day and age we live in, and I complain about it more than anybody, technology is supposed to make everything better and it only makes it worse. But there's times where it does work for you. You know what I mean? Find out the county ordinances. Find out the building codes. Find out, the covenants. If you're going to do owner financing, find out the covenants from the company that you're working with. Find out, make sure, you check, with all, the county courthouse or county recorder of deeds. Find out all the information you can about the area you're going to be in. Temperature. Find out, obviously, temperature and if you're moving into, the desert area, find out if there's a flood, if you're in the floodplains, elevation, what's the everything. Oh, well, the desert, it's nice and warm. Yes, it is. And everybody knows the desert gets cold at night, but it can, snows in the desert too. It drops down 20, 10 negative in the desert at times. Depends on how high up you are. So you need to find out your elevation. You need to find out, what's around you. What's the closest town, city? Where's the closest box store? Because you're going to need a box store. I don't care what anybody says.
Closest hospital.
hospitals. I mean, yeah, we all want to, like, the whole point of going off grid is to be more self-sufficient, but until you can be 85, 75, 85% self-sufficient, you're going to need box stores. You're going to need Walmart's, Home Depot, Lowe's. You're going to need supplies. You're going to need, you know what I mean? You don't want to be 2-3 hours from a city to where they have these big box stores and deal with mom. Nothing wrong with mom and pops. You should always support your local community and your local businesses, but some things you don't want to occur in that way. Lumber or building supplies, you're going to be looking at 3 to 4 times the price of what you could get at a box store. And I know you should always support your local mom and pops, which I love. That's I'm down for it. But certain things, when you're living on a budget, you can't afford to pay 3 or 4 times for certain things. You know what I mean? And then you got to think about, again, heat. Okay, if you live in the desert and at night it's cold during the winter, they get, certain areas of the desert get cold. Like right now, there's people I know, but I watch that they live in the desert areas and it's, 40, 50 degrees, 30 at night. Oh, you were getting Chinese, huh, Jason? All right, buddy. It's all right. We're just glad to have you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. But, you got to think about those things. You got to think about where you're going to get your, in a place like that. In the desert, there's not, there's trees, Joshua trees, and they have other types of trees, but they're only 10, 12, 14 foot high. You're not getting a lot of firewood out of them. You might get some, but I don't know how they burn. I've never been to the desert, never burnt desert trees. But you want to think about propane heaters. You want to think about where you're getting your propane from, how much they're going to charge you to deliver. These are all things you can find out before you go. You pick your spot, find out your covenants with the company you're working with. You find out the ordinances and zoning, and then you find out where your stores are at, your grocery stores, hospitals, schools, and because Jackson, we got to worry about schools. Propane and propane accessories, right, Jason? No doubt, Hank Hill. But you got to figure out, propane, water, because you're going to have water brought in, or you're going to have to go get water. That's one of the things that we prepare for, whether we're going to the desert or in the woods. Either way, until we can get a well, we'll be getting water delivered or water brought in, water bladders, rain catchment barrels, different things like that. You have to have all this thought through. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that I've seen umpteen times. People coming on and making the channel about, I've seen Kansas and there's nothing out there besides cornfield. And it feels like you're driving 2 miles before you see anything. Oh, no, that's all right, Alex. I like long messages, buddy. Listen, it's true. Kansas, Nebraska, it's all flat and nothing but cornfields for miles and miles and miles and miles. That's not one of the places we're going to be for sure. You know what I mean? Land out there, that's more commercial land, big farms. That's you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, even into the millions to buy something like that. Because there are a lot of them are already established and they're selling them as, people are getting older and can't do it, and their grandkids don't want to take over into that lifestyle, so they have to sell. And listen, they're talking a lot of money in places like that, and like you said, there ain't nothing out there. But they already have everything set that they need. They already have everything that they, but still, yeah. Like there's a lot of places like in Arizona, Texas, Nevada, Colorado, up in the desert. I researched some of the sites where they give you the coordinates and things. The closest town might not be an hour and a half away. Like the one girl I happened upon today, matter of fact, she was selling her land because I told you that it cost them $200,000 to bring the electric in 3 miles, and she had no clue that was going to be the case. They thought they were going to move out there and have electricity brought in and a well drilled. You're in the middle of the desert.
The closest town to them was an hour and a half away.
The closest small town where they can get their mail, because they didn't. A lot of these places you're not right off the road. You know what I mean? You're off a state highway, a county road, and you come back some dirt roads, a mile this way, a mile that way, a mile this way, a mile that way, to get to your section of land. You're out in literally the middle of the desert, And, people don't consider that. They don't research it. They don't look at it. And they weren't even allowed to have a mailbox, she said, because they were so far off the beaten path, as you would say, that the mail wouldn't come to them. So you had to have a P.O. box. And she said, well, I like to order things from Amazon, like big packages like sheds and things like that. You can't have those delivered to a P.O. box. No, you can't. But if you'd have done your research, you'd have known if you order from Amazon, Walmart, whatever it be, each piece of land has a parcel number. Okay. And in the instructions, you tell them the parcel number, and you leave. There's a spot on there where it says for delivery instructions. You put on there, you got to come off County Road, and then make a left onto the next road, right on the next road, and we're up a mile on the left, and they'll drop it in your driveway. They may not come up the driveway because they already come back too far, but they're not the mail. They'll come up the driveway. They'll drop it off and drop bottom of your driveway. It's up to you to get it from the bottom of your driveway to where you need it to go. But they're not the U.S. Postal Service. It's either FedEx or UPS or Amazon itself. But they will drop it off for you or somewhere close for you. You know what I mean? Because they're too big for the P.O. box for the post office to handle, or UPS stores or Amazon lockers or things like that. But you can have it done. It's not impossible. But you have to do your research, guys. I know I've talked about this 1,000 times.
Research. I mean, we can't stress it enough.
I see it. And the reason I keep bringing it up is I see it so much. I'm doing my research on YouTube, or I'm looking at sites and I see reviews. Of course, I read all the reviews. That's part of being research. I look into coordinates. I look into county records. I look to see how much the land sold for in the last 10 years, 5 or 10 years. Because I want to know if I buy this land in 5 or 10 years, what should I expect? Now, this is bare land. You know what I mean? There's no structures on it. There's nothing been touched on it. It's been sold 6 times in 10 years, and they've made 20 grand. And, from the time it sold 10 years ago, it's gone up 20 grand in 10 years. Now, I want to know how much, if I start putting structures on it and have a building and outbuildings and, barns and, pastures and things like that, I want to have an idea of what it's going to be worth later on, because that's smart to know for taxes. Because, as it's listed now, the taxes may only be $100, $150 a year. But the more the value of the property becomes, the more the taxes are.
But there's also, we happened upon that one YouTube guy. There are deductions.
Certain states have homesteading deductions.
Certain states that have homesteading deductions for your property taxes.
For property taxes.
If you're a disabled vet, you can get a deduction. If
you have a disability in general.
You can get a deduction.
There's
deductions on school taxes if you're a disabled vet and you have children. And this is what comes from doing your research looking to see. We just actually happened to come upon that YouTube, and we're watching it, but we can't stress enough.
And it's not just for vets or people.
Right, there's other. I just can't remember what else.
There's an automatic deduction for having a homestead above anything. I think it's 3 acres and above.
Yeah,
and depending on the size, you just like I told you guys before, a lot of states have what they call a farm tax card. You apply for it, and any equipment you buy for your farm, any feed, dog food, cat food,
it's tax free.
It's tax free. Lumber, it's all tax free. Nails,
I mean, this is why literally we can't stress enough. And I know I sound like a broken record, but if you are planning to do something like this, research it. Do your research. Yes, you can watch our videos. We can tell you what we've learned, but there are still things that we haven't learned yet.
Right, and we may not learn,
and we may not
learn the hard way.
Right.
We're good for that. Honestly.
Right. So, do your research. Look into the things. Go and look at, like he said, the ordinance for the county, the borough, the state. Look at all of those and see what you can and what you can't do. Because, we were going into this and we didn't know that, you can only do 20% of the trees on your land. We didn't know that. We found that out literally the beginning of this week. So, research. This way, when you do get to your land, you're not surprised that you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this without a permit, or you can't do this permanently. Like, you're not allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do that, or you have to have this and you have to have that. Like, researching is the number one key to homesteading.
And listen, guys, I mean, it's blowing up. I don't know what you guys do or look into, but I know I look into it every day. There's people that you wouldn't expect to try to homestead. It started off with your bed and breakfasts years ago. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you have your Airbnbs now. People are trying to buy this land to do things like Airbnbs with. People are trying to homestead. Listen, people see a lot of bad things going on in the world, in the country, state, whatever it be. There's lots of things going on that people were worried about. And before you were a prepper, you were crazy, you were weird.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I used to listen, 10, 15 years ago, I laughed at them. I thought they were funny. You guys are crazy. You know what I mean?
Looking at it now, they're not so funny.
Economic collapse and, worry about asteroids. And
they're pretty smart.
Government taking over. I mean,
it's
if you look around. I won't get into that. That's another video for me to do on my Real Talk with the Country Called Us. But it is what it is. People are starting to see things, and maybe it's not happening, and maybe it won't happen, but they see signs of it possibly going to happen.
And then if it does,
you're good to go.
You're prepared,
and you know all you need to know. You're not jumping in, like I say, you're not jumping into the water feet first. You thought it was water and it's shark infested.
Listen, even if you don't want to get a homestead and what have you, a lot of stuff that we tell you, like, for example, are your shelf stable meals. Right. You don't have to be a homesteader to do that. You can prep these things. And if something happens to the economy that you can't go out and get groceries or, whatever you need to eat, you already have this stuff prepped. And, like I said, a lot of this stuff that I have that, I'm going to be showing you guys, it is shelf stable for up to a year to 18 months.
And the only problem with that is that I see is, like I said, I have a neighbor 10 foot this way, 10 foot that way, 10 foot that way, 10 foot that way. Now, here I am prepping. They're not. And we're, after a week, everybody's cool. If something goes, the asteroid hits the earth and knocks out all the power for who knows how long, month, 6 months, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They're not prepared. But we are. And they notice that we're prepared. We're kind of like a target in this area. You go somewhere where you're homesteading and your neighbors
2-3 miles down the road. They can't
see what you're up to, what you're not up to.
Right.
You can see them coming. You can tell. And that's the other difference. I mean, like I said, we're not big. I'm not one of those big, crazy prepper people, but I don't want to say I'm not starting to be. The older I get, the more I start thinking about the safety and security of my family if something would happen. Being in the city, being butt to butt with houses and people, the more I prepare and the more they don't, eventually
you're going to have a target on
you're going to be the target because
right.
They're going to want what you got. And like I told you guys last time, you could only help so many people before you start hurting yourself. And I love helping people. Believe me, I have the biggest heart in the world. She is, a big heart, but you can only help so many people before you start hurting yourself.
Right.
And in the minute you stop helping people in that scenario, or you can't help them,
that's the minute that everything
and that's when
goes to crap. When
it hits the fan, literally, because people expect, I got my hand out. Where you at? Come on, get my hand. That's the way some.
It's an SHTF situation.
Yeah, SHTF, right? Some people are used to just sitting back and give me, and it's they've always gotten it. You know what I mean? No big deal. Now, in this situation, I got to take care of me and mine. I love you. You're my neighbor, and I love your kids, and I love your family. But I'm not going to hurt my family to save yours. And then that puts you in,
that puts you in a bigger situation,
a weird situation to where,
that one that you don't want to be in.
That used to be your friend. That used to be someone you talk to, but now.
And now all of a sudden you're enemies.
Because they're worried about taking care of their kids and family,
I mean, you're worried about.
Can't wait to see you too, buddy.
And they're worried about taking care of their family. We're worried about taking care of ours. We can only do so much to help, without taking away from our family. And that's when situations get bad.
I mean, listen, I'll say for one thing that, I'm going to bring it up on my, the Real Talk with the Country Called Us. I'll bring it up now. I just watched in the news, Trump put out, $400 billion to buy beef from Venezuela. Like, first of all, you got to take care of your own country. Number one. Number two, they're over there bombing these boats that are coming in with all the drugs. Now Venezuela's sending their Navy out. You just spent $400 billion. Now we're about to be at war with them. That's crazy. That's weird. That's wild. That got me thinking like, hey, listen, it's time to get some stuff together. You know what I mean? It's time to have my family into a position of where, we're out in the middle of nowhere. We have what we need. Even in the desert, people are like, in the desert, you can't grow crops, you can't have animals.
But you can.
But you can.
Listen, I watched a YouTuber yesterday. He dug himself this big old trench, put It
was 6 foot deep by 20 foot long.
Put a greenhouse over top of it.
What he did is put like an A-frame like this over top of the hole.
And then he's growing crops.
And you can do it either way, even if you don't dig a hole. But obviously, it's a lot cooler in there if you do dig a hole. But
So I mean,
you could you buy shade cars, and like I said, I mean, in that scenario, if something happens, like I said, you can put up fences, you can put up steel fences, you can at least protect yourself from what's coming. People are going to be less to look for you out there than they are beside
right here.
I mean, eventually, don't get me wrong. It's not like you're never going to, have no problems because you're out in the middle of nowhere. If something would happen, they're eventually going to work their way out. But,
you can see them coming.
Right. It's going to take time.
Right.
Then they're going to work their area first, and then make their way out bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, by that point in time, you're ready to go. And, that's how I see things. Now, it may never happen in my lifetime. May never need it. Hopefully. Thank the Lord if it doesn't. You know what I mean? But if it does, we'll be prepared. And my family will have something we don't have to worry about. And we'll be prepared. And, I mean, I don't like to talk like that normally, but it's real life. Like I said, that's something I'm going to talk about on, the Real Talk with Country Called Us this week coming up. I'll have another video out on that.
And like I said, I'll probably have another creamer video out. It probably won't hit till Saturday. Depending on when I decide to do it. Like I said, I got to work tonight. So,
yeah.
And then again, I'll have my videos next week. Prepared. I didn't forget about you. We're still going to do the chili. We're still going to do it. Like I said, I just got to wait until I get my seasonings, but we're going to do that.
We're trying to put out more videos for you guys. Because, our first videos were all things that were big things that we were buying, to get ready. A lot of stuff I can show you, but like we have done on the live, but I can't really technically make a video, a 10-minute video. I don't want to be one of those people to make a 2-minute video and post it, or even we do shorts, but I like to cut my long form videos into shorts. But like, water bladders, like today I just got a water pressure pump for water pressure transfer pump for transferring water from, place to place, but I can't do a video on it. I mean, it's not like, I'd have to hook up, water here and move it there. That's, that's pretty difficult in the situation I'm in right now. All right. Good night, Alex. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. We're getting ready to get off anyway. But yeah, so, so we're trying to put out more videos and other things and try to stay consistent with you guys. And we appreciate all you guys being here. Appreciate all you guys stopping in. If you're new, hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to share, guys. But we're going to get out of here.
Now I got to get ready to go to work.
Yeah, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to get ready. What's tonight? Thursday night football's on.
Football.
Yep. Football.
Thank goodness I go to work.
Yeah, thank goodness, because we won't talk about my football team.
No,
she's not allowed to be home when they play, because we can get into that.
We won't get into that.
Yeah, because
I'm. Let's just say I'm bad luck when it comes to his football team.
Yeah, let's just say when she's here, they look like a high school team. When she's not here, they look like a Super Bowl team. But why is that? You're always talking trash about somebody. You know what I mean? But we won't get into that guy.
Listen, like I said, I used to love Aaron Rodgers, but now I think he just needs to retire.
Yeah, you'll see that, right?
I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's still a good football player, but
is he a good football player, Trish? Is that why you like Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I think he's cute too. But
okay.
I mean, that's just my opinion. But all right, guys, with that being said, we're going to get out of here.
Yes, we're going to get out of here, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Like I said, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. And for the rest of you that have been here, good night prepared. Share it with your friends and family. Let them know what we're about. And we're here to, give you the real truth about the real life scenarios, guys.
Any questions, pop them in the
comments. Those of you that missed it, in our last video, Odin's birthday was what? Tuesday.
What is today?
Bodie. Yeah, it was Tuesday because Jack went home Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, it was Tuesday.
Come here, boy. Come here. Come on. Me and Jackson did a video about what 9-year-olds feel about moving off grid and getting a homestead. And it was Odie Bodie's birthday. So everybody wish Odie Bodie happy birthday in the comments.
Odin turned 3 on Tuesday.
He turned 3 years old. He's a good boy. He was a good boy. He takes care of my Jackson. That's Jackson's little buddy. They stay together 24/7. Huh? You miss your buddy. He'll be here tomorrow. I gotta go. No, not that way. This way. Odin.
Hi.
Oh, you want mom's side?
Hi.
Come on, go.
All right, go. All right, guys. With that, we're gonna get out of here.
All right. Thanks a lot again for stopping by. I really appreciate it. We love you guys.
Peace out.
Peace out and have a
nice night.
I always say day. You say night.
Well, it is nighttime, so.
Uh-huh.
All right, guys.
All right,
see you
talk
later.
to you later.